NATO wants to deploy air defense systems over western Ukraine and then extend them to Kiev as well. This was reported by the publication The Telegraph. Analysts note that this would serve as proof that Europe is ready to take risk and deliver a decisive response.
It would also genuinely help Ukraine in the war. And most importantly, it would send a signal to Putin. If Russia creates dilemmas for the West, then Europe can and will do the same for Russia.
According to The Telegraph, this issue will be discussed on October 1st at a meeting of European leaders in Copenhagen. On September 30th, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth gathered American Army generals at a Marine Corps military base. He made a bold statement: warn America's enemies of an inevitable and devastating response in the event of any challenge. In his important address to the assembled generals, he clearly stated, at precisely the same time, Hegseth specifically noted that on the first day of October, sirens and loudspeakers would be actively activated across the entire vast territory of Russia. The official Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations subsequently reported that a scheduled, comprehensive, and large-scale test of the public warning systems, which are specifically designed and routinely used in the critical event of potential threats or significant emergencies, will indeed be conducted throughout the Russian Federation.
During the test, electric sirens and loudspeakers will be activated and the broadcast of mandatory public television and radio channels will be replaced. The information will also be available in the mobile app of the Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations.
Let us recall that in early September, U.S. President Donald Trump signed an order to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War. In this particular way, he successfully restored the historical name that had been consistently used from the significant year of 1789 to 1947. During this period, officials tried to emphasize the Pentagon's role in preventing conflicts.
Russian occupiers are once again trying to strengthen the defenses of the illegally constructed Kerch Bridge in temporarily occupied Crimea. This was reported by Petro Andriashenko, head of the Center for the Study of Occupation.
Now, the barrier consists of 3 lines of defense, barges, and 2 lines of protective barriers along the entire length of the Kerch Bridge.
Andriashenko reminded that the previous defensive structure built by the occupiers near the Crimean Bridge was destroyed by a storm.
The level of anxiety over Putin's main totem is rising.
The Russians began sinking hedgehog-shaped barriers in the strait in September 2024. Hundreds of such structures have already been sunk to the bottom. On September 23rd, Petro Andriashenko reported that military cargo was being transported across the Crimean Bridge, which was illegally built by the aggressor country, Russia. Earlier, the representative of the Ukrainian Navy, Dmytro Pletenchuk, noted that the Russians are protecting the Kerch Bridge and taking care of it more than some other equally important facilities within Russia itself. Thus, the director of the Foreign Intelligence Service of the Russian Federation, Sergei Naryshkin, stated, "The Crimean Bridge is a symbol for Russia." It is known that the Ukrainian armed forces have struck the Crimean Bridge several times already. The first strike was carried out in early October 2022. As a result of the strike, railroad cars carrying fuel caught fire there, and 2 spans of the road section of the bridge partially collapsed. The bridge was hit a second time in the summer of 2023. At that time, 1 span was destroyed and another was damaged. The Crimean Bridge was attacked for the 3rd time during the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine on June 3, 2025. That time, a supporting pillar was damaged.
Kazakhstan has put Moscow in a tough spot by sharply reducing gasoline exports to Russia. At the worst possible moment for the aggressor, Astana cut off the flow of gasoline and triggered a new chain of fuel crisis that is already paralyzing regions of Russia. Due to scheduled maintenance at Kazakhstan's condensate oil refinery, Moscow will receive 13,000 tons less fuel in October. That's the monthly consumption of a region with nearly 1 million people. Independent estimates, the fuel crisis has affected 25 regions of Russia. Residents of Khabarovsk Krai and occupied Crimea are standing in massive lines.
This is what the line looks like.
At half of the gas stations on the peninsula, there's no gasoline, and at the others, sales are limited, 30 liters each. Amid the gasoline shortage, gas station owners are selling counterfeit fuel and making windfall profits. According to sources from Crimean Wind, gas stations buy a 76 gasoline from the State Reserve for cash from Russian military, adding additives, then sell it as a 92. In the Samara region, fuel supply disruptions and sharp price increases are occurring. Locals complain that at some gas stations, you can only fill up using cards, and gasoline production in the region has been temporarily halted.
It's already reached Samara. Gasoline has gone up here too. What will happen next? Guys, there are rumors going around the gas will go up to 100 rubles. And that's already for the winter.
Russian domestic oil refineries suffered drone attacks and breakdowns, and consequences for Russian economy are only just beginning to show. So, on morning Monday, September 29th, Ukrainian armed forces attacked a fuel depot Russian state reserve in Tver region. A drone crashed into a tank aviation fuel.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban cynically considers the recent incident involving Hungarian drones entering Ukrainian airspace to be utterly insignificant. According to him, a few Hungarian drones are supposedly not something Ukrainians should be concerned about. On September 26th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stated that the Ukrainian army had recorded a violation of the country's airspace in the west by reconnaissance drones. The incident occurred near the Ukrainian-Hungarian border, and the drones were likely Hungarian. The president has in fact stated,
Preliminarily, they may have been conducting reconnaissance on the industrial potential in Ukrainian border regions. I have instructed my team to thoroughly check all available data and to immediately report every single recorded incident.
Viktor Orban also made a controversial statement about the Russian Federation. He said that Russia had supposedly already won the war against Ukraine. At the same time, the Russian Federation is weak both militarily and economically. Orban also added that because of this, Russia cannot harm Hungary.
We are stronger, but we act as if we are weaker. If Russian drones simply cross into our Hungarian territory, we will definitely shoot their drones down. We are not afraid.
Orban also made a statement claiming that Ukraine is neither a sovereign nor an independent state since it is being held up by Western countries. The Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated, the claim by Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban that Ukraine is supposedly not sovereign demonstrates the influence of Russian propaganda. The head of the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry also emphasized that he will be eagerly awaiting the Hungarian Prime Minister's thoughts on state sovereignty as soon as he frees himself from dependence on Russian energy resources, as has been repeatedly urged by US President Donald Trump and European partners.